field. Back toward the track. And that ball is gone.
You are listening to the North Shore 9 podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure to watch NS9 Live every Thursday on Twitch and help support by becoming a patron. Let's go Bucks!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Starbucks with Jim and DiNardo. I, of course, am your host, Anthony DiNardo. And with me this morning, as always, is Jim Rosati. What up, Jim?
Hey, good morning. How you guys? How are you doing down in Florida?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints. We had a hurricane. I think it actually was a hurricane technically when it passed, not a tropical storm. And I swear, Jim, I mean, if you know anything about Florida, it rains every single day pretty much. Right around 5 o'clock, you expect a shower. I think we had less rain during this hurricane than any other time. I mean, it passed us. I think it was 50 miles away from me, and it rained for like 30 minutes, and that was it. That was our hurricane. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's good. Good that it didn't hit or do anything too bad.
Right.
So, I guess hurricane season's starting now. That was the first one of the year, right?
For us per se, yeah. I think there's been another hurricane, but I think it's gone like into the Gulf and such. But yeah, and I mean,
Gotcha.
Especially like the work from home environment, it's always kind of fun. And I'll tell you, I mean, we've never had any like real devastating hurricanes where I'm located in Jacksonville, but hurricanes are pretty fun, because usually, there's enough sustained winds that everything shuts down. So like you're off work for like 3 days. It's just raining. And you just have literally they have to call them hurricane parties. You just stock up on beer, right? Like we're stocking up on toilet paper these days. And you just sit back and drink and have a good time. So now working from home, well, you still have to work because you don't have to drive to a place.
Right.
So now it's
Right.
like, well, I'm not too worried. Let's not have any hurricanes then because there's no benefit to it. So I know it's completely selfish.
That is true. Because now, so I wonder if that'll be. Yeah, I guess never again. No more hurricane parties. If there's a hurricane and they call off work, they're like, whatever, you're at home anyways.
I know, right? You're safe. You're already home. So just log on. If you have internet, you have
Right.
electricity. I guess the difference would be, of course, if you have no power, then you're
That
not
makes
working.
sense. True. That's true.
Yeah.
You could just say you don't have power.
Don't tell them, Jim. But yeah. Other than that, I mean, things are going pretty swell down here. How about you?
Pretty good. So last night we had a softball game, and we won 23-22 on a walk-off walk.
A walk-off walk. Oh, wow.
Walk-off walk. It was exciting.
You really got into the other team's bullpen, huh?
Oh yeah. We tired down the starter. No, it was weird. We were down by 10. It was 22-12 going into the last inning.
Wow.
We scored 11. It was a epic comeback.
Who would have thought the Tigers and Pirates were playing again last night?
Exactly. Yeah. That whole series was wild.
Jeez.
Just the bats came alive. I don't know if it was the hitters were playing well or if it was just both teams were just really bad pitching.
Right.
It's probably more the latter, to be honest.
True.
Especially from the Pirates pitcher standpoint.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's always something. It's kind of, I love watching good baseball, but then there's always really good reasons to watch really bad baseball. And I think that Tigers Pirates series summed it up because there's some really bad defensive plays as well. Well, obviously one that was really, really bad that cost a guy a season, but that wasn't a highlight. But yeah, like you said, there's something to really, really bad baseball when, you get those high scores and the Pirates come back and tie it up. And I think the Tigers scored in both extra innings and Pirates came back in one of them and then ended up losing. It was fun. It was interesting. That was what we're talking about earlier in the season where the Pirates are probably going to be bad, but the games will be interesting. That was it. That's what we're referring to. They've been less interesting overall, but they made up for it in that series.
Yeah, no, it was. They were fun games. They were at least interesting to watch and fun. The offense. It was nice to see some runs, and other than the last game, but yeah, it was actually cool to kind of see them come back too. They were fun games, even though they got swept.
Yes, but we'll take it, right? We're tanking for Kumar.
You know what? I'm like I said, I'm accepting that. I do want to see like good baseball though. Like I'm fine with it. It looks like from a tanking standpoint, so far so good. We have 3 wins. I mean, if you don't count the Cardinals, which we'll talk about that, I'm sure here, but
Sure.
if you don't count them, we're basically 3 games ahead of every other team at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Cardinals, I mean, I saw a tweet yesterday. I forget who it was, but I don't even know who it was. But they said something like, "How piratey is this?" That the Cardinals are 2-5, and the Pirates are 5 games behind them already. Like they're 5 games behind a team that's only played 5 games, or I'm sorry, 4.5 games behind a team that's played 5 games.
2 and 3, and the Pirates are 4.5 games behind them.
Right. You can't get much piratey than that.
No, that's crazy.
So, but man, I don't know. Is that a good transition right now? I mean, geez, Jim, we're supposed to have a baseball right now. We should be talking about the Pirates-Cardinals series right now. But the Cardinals, they decided that they're going to miss the first 13 out of 18 games of the season. Don't know when they're going to make this up. Have no idea how they'll get 60 in. But here we are. There's another team that's being punished. The Pirates can't complete the tank. They lose out on 3 games this series. What's your take on that?
So it's one of those things where I feel because what's going to end up happening is they're going to try to make up as many of these games as they can. And they're just going to be, the Cardinals are going to play a ton of doubleheaders, I have a feeling, just going forward once they can play. So, obviously that sucks for the Cardinals, but then at the same time you look at it and it's like, well, you were the ones who, weren't following protocol and got your entire team infected with this virus, right? So
of course, I mean, it's self-owned. I shouldn't feel bad. It's your issue. You created this mess. So I shouldn't feel bad for the Cardinals that they have to play doubleheaders.
Right now, and then also it's hard for me to feel bad for the Cubs or any other team that they're going to have to play doubleheaders against. So I guess I'm okay with it in that standpoint, that it's like, hey, screw the rest of the NL Central except for us.
Right.
But no, it's gonna. We had games canceled too, so we're gonna have to have double headers with St. Louis later this year. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll get some of those 7-inning double headers probably. Right. Maybe try to rack up some complete games for the pitching staff. See what happens.
Wow, what pitching staff? There's hardly exists anymore. But that's exactly how I feel.
Just think, if you're on the road, if it's an away game, you can get a complete game loss, a complete game 6-inning loss as a starting pitcher.
That's very true.
Yeah,
that's very true. You get 2 of them almost.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
like that's my issue with this too, Jim. I mean, I don't have any sympathy or empathy at all towards the Cardinals. They created this. If they're gonna have the double headers and have to find out a way to, play, like just like the Marlins. I mean, they had to figure it out. They've taken everyone's scraps. You got the guys that were, ice skaters that are playing second base right now, Jim. So, like, I have no sympathy towards them and what's going to have to happen. But it does. It really sucks to the other teams. You take the fan hat off. Of course, like, who cares about the Cubs, right? But in reality, it's not their fault, And I keep going back to this. Like Kutch said it best for the Phillies when the Marlins did this. Like, we did everything right, and yet we're being punished. And now we're going to have to sacrifice and play these, 2 7-inning double headers where it screws up your pitching. It's not really a full game. I mean, think about it. It actually, oddly enough, it would benefit the Cubs because they have a really bad bullpen. But,
that's true.
If you have a bad bullpen, that helps you out. And the Cardinals actually have a good bullpen in their 5 games so far this season. They're leading MLB in bullpen ERA.
Very small sample size.
Very small, Jim. But it's just like, this really puts the other teams at such a disadvantage. And now we're talking 13 games. 13 games.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. You look at it, and most teams have played anywhere between 15 to 18 games at this point, and the Cardinals have played 5.
Right.
So they're gonna have to. I don't know if they're going to get to 60. I don't see how that can even happen. But I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's a lot of games to make up. And like you brought up Kutch, right? So you do feel for those teams where, like, especially the Phillies, actually, because the Phillies, I don't even think they ever even reported, like, they had that one like clubhouse worker, I think, but I don't think any of their players ever got it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yet they had to sit out, a week basically because of the Marlins,
Yep.
right? So I mean, it sucks for teams like that who are doing things right, because it's putting them at risk. It's putting their staff at risk, right? I mean, that clubhouse staff worker wouldn't have gotten sick if it weren't for the Marlins, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it almost would have been a good idea, at the beginning. I don't know if the Players Association would have signed up with this, but almost have some sort of punishment system in place. Like, if you're caught breaking protocol,
right?
Like, hey, if you're caught breaking protocol that leads to an outbreak, like, you're suspended for the season or something like that. Like, I think that may have helped deter some of this, because really outside of just those two cases, it's been working. I mean, you're seeing like maybe like a one-off here or there, but for the most part, it's just those two teams, the Cardinals and the Marlins.
You're right. You are right. I mean, there's definitely it's been a mess, but theoretically, when you look at it, now that we're this deep into the season so far, it has, and it just come from negligence. The Marlins decided to go out for coffee and milk, apparently, and the Cardinals decided to go, to casinos and bet it all. But yeah, you see most teams, it sounds like they're following things and protocols that are set in place, and it's been isolated. Yeah, sure, a player gets it, and that's it. They self-quarantine, they come back when they're ready. Gregory Polanco, a great example of that. And we're good. Even Joey Votto, he felt symptoms. He said, hey, I'm going to take myself away from this, step away, finds out he doesn't have it, comes back, and we're good. But yeah, now we have the Indian situation. So not everyone's being so proactive, but at least the Indians caught it and said, go home.
Right.
So,
and I think, the Polanco thing is something I feel like wasn't actually talked about very much, but like, you got to give him a ton of credit, because how easy would it have been for him to just say, oh, it's just a sore throat, I don't need to say anything. And then the next thing you know, the entire team has COVID, Right. So, I mean, he gets a ton of credit from me for that. Like, hey, I've got this sore throat, something's not right, let me just see. And, he like I said, just imagine, had he not done that, the whole team could have gotten it. So,
sure.
So, yeah, I mean, props to him for that.
Way.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and move forward. The Cardinals series isn't happening, so there's nothing to talk about. Unfortunately, there's no Pirates baseball for us to watch. But let's go ahead and we'll move forward and talk about this upcoming series.
Yeah, so
exactly
Cincinnati
do,
Reds.
But in a much more real sense.
They were my pick to win the division.
Yeah, not doing too well.
No, the Cubs are just on fire. I wasn't anticipating that. I will say this, though. Nicholas Castellanos, playing like an MVP candidate. 7 home runs. Just mashing. Yeah. So let's talk about this series. So it's 4-game series in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I've watched a little bit of them this year, and from what I can tell, the starting pitching has been great.
Yeah.
The bullpen has been horrendous.
Yeah.
So starting pitching has been good. Bullpen horrendous. Offense has been pretty decent. Who knows who our starting pitchers are? I guess we'll probably reset that whole thing. We've got 3 off days. So have they announced the starting pitchers for that that yet? I haven't seen.
That's a good question. I don't recall seeing it, but as you're speaking of, right, Joe Musgrove now to the IL. Had an ankle injury, skipped his start. Now he has tricep inflammation, so doesn't seem like it was related to what he was missed before, unless something else is going behind the scenes. But yeah, so now we've also lost Joe Musgrove. Jim, what's going on with our pitching?
I think that makes 11 total players now who are on the IL. It's incredible. I guess it just goes to show, and it's kind of league wide too. Like everybody's experiencing these things. So you wonder if it was, who was it? Trevor Williams, during one of the first games, they were interviewing him, and he was like, we don't need spring training. I think that whole 3-week thing actually works out just fine. And this is proving that I don't think it is. They probably need a full 2 months of spring training to gear up for a season.
It sure seems it, Jim.
It doesn't look like whatever they were doing has made these guys ready to play games every day, because we're just seeing an incredible amount of injuries.
Yes. And like you said, I mean, it isn't isolated to the Pirates at all. I mean, it is literally everywhere right now, which does lead me to believe, like you're saying, that it had to do something. Maybe it's even a combination of just, they were ramping up and then stopped and now ramp back up again. And both ramp ups, in a sense, were quick. They never had a full spring, summer, anywhere. I assumed that they were going to be okay, though, because they have been throwing all this time. The assumption was, I get it. I can understand the pitching will be ahead. They've been throwing basically since February. I don't believe most pitchers stopped. From the sound of it, the Pirates ones certainly haven't. But look across MLB, it didn't sound like any pitcher just stopped. And when they heard baseball was coming back, then they started ramping up again. Most sounded as if they've been throwing some type of throwing program as such. So you felt they were going to come back and they were going to be okay. But it doesn't seem that way, Jim. It seems every team has having these injuries, some really major ones, some not so major, but they're just going through the list of pitchers. And it certainly has hit home for the Pirates. Joe Musgrove, the latest one. But the thing is, Jim, we don't have that good of a pitching rotation or bullpen. So, it's really affecting the Pirates.
Yeah, so I just counted. So the Reds, who we're going to be facing, have used 19 pitchers this season in 17 games. Pirates, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23. So Pirates have used 23 pitchers. Reds have used 19. So what's actually incredible too?
What's that?
And this is what I was talking about. The Reds had the Reds bullpen woes. The Reds have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitchers, DiNardo, with ERAs worse than Miguel Del Pozo.
I don't believe you. Get out of here, Jim. What's in your coffee this morning?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's how bad the Reds have been.
Yeah, that goes
imagine
to show,
having,
like you're saying, that bullpen.
Imagine having 5 Miguel Del Pozos.
The Reds can't be a real team. There's no way they're winning that division, Jim.
But you look at the starting pitching, though. The starting pitching has been good. Yes. Bauer, Gray, Mailey has been good. Yeah, Bauer's been really good. Castillo's been good. DeSclafani's been good. So that's their rotation has been good. But the bullpen, ouch. Yeah, looking at these names, there's some guy on here. Actually, Robert Stevenson, 54 ERA. Jose De Leon, 43.2. Wade Miley, 27. Yeah. Michael Lorenzen, who was one of their more used arms. Michael Lorenzen, 16.88.
Yep. So, and just speaking of him too, Sure, it's probably a bit unlucky, but we look at his FIP; it's a 10.91. Like everything measures that he's been awful this year, and he has been a consistent, steady reliever for them, in the years and such. I think obviously, we're talking about the three keys, right? I would probably say the first one is let's get to that bullpen.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that has been their downfall this year, has been that. So if you can get to them and make them throw more than 3 innings, then you've got a pretty good shot, because there's really no one in that bullpen who is shutting anyone down.
Right.
Amir Garrett and Lucas Sims seem to be having pretty good years, but that's about it.
Yep. And it's going to be tough because we just talked about the starting pitching. So it's going to be tough. But you are looking at the second to worst bullpen in baseball. The worst being capitalized by the Phillies, which that was an interesting game last night if you saw it. Talking about blowing that game.
I did not watch it. I saw some highlights, though. Yeah.
I guess I didn't watch the game either, but I saw the highlight of the day, which was that infield fly that lost the game for them. Bases loaded. The pitcher does exactly what you want, pops it right up, and no one catches the ball. So, historically bad, the Phillies. They got a 9.87 ERA. But, the Reds are sitting right now with a 7.77 ERA. And that's in 48.2 innings. We're starting to reach, we talked about the Cubs and how terrible their bullpen was a few weeks ago. But you're talking about a week and a half sample size. It's still small, but at least it's starting to normalize, with 48 innings on the belt in a bullpen being that atrocious. You are seeing something. So if you can get to this bullpen, and that's something the Pirates have shown, they come back every game, I swear, late. That 7th, 8th, 9th inning, for some reason things click. So if you can get to this bullpen and the Pirates do their Pirate thing and score 4 runs in the 9th, still, lose by 1, of course, but score 4 runs in the 9th, that is a way that you can attack this team and win.
Yeah, so that's definitely what they need to be doing, is getting to that bullpen early and often. Yeah, that's it. Let's put that down as a Bob Walk key of the game.
There you go, Bob Walk key of the game, right there. Get to the bullpen. All right, Jim. What else do you have for a key this game?
We'll talk about it in a little bit, but Erik Gonzalez needs to stay hot.
Ooh.
I think Erik Gonzalez is somebody where he's shown that he deserves to start every day right now, wherever that may be. Shortstop, third base, whatever. But give the guy playing time, because he looks like a whole different person, DiNardo.
Yeah, he does.
36 plate appearance. It's 36 plate appearances, but the thing is, though, it's not just a numbers thing. It's actually the way that he looks. He is just mashing the ball.
Yes. I'm with you. That's a key, because who else right now can you depend on this team? And that's
you kind of need somebody to step into that Phillip Evans role, where he was hitting and carrying the team.
Exactly, and that's where we've come to. We've come to so far as a Pirates organization that we are depending, Jim, on Erik Gonzalez. He is the savior. He's going to lead us to the wins against the Reds. Erik Gonzalez. Imagine
we're depending on Erik Gonzalez to step into the huge hole that what needs to be filled with a Phillip Evans injury.
Right. Since we've lost Andrew McCutchen, we've been searching for this key player, and it came this year in Phillip Evans, and now Erik Gonzalez. So, they can just carry the team to victories, Jim. Yeah.
What is happening?
I don't hate that. Erik Gonzalez, man, if there's ever a time we need him to step up and play, it's right now, because this lineup.
Maybe he could have that. Maybe you could have that Ronnie Cedeno effect. Remember, Ronnie Cedeno would just crush the ball against the Reds. He couldn't hit it against any other team, but the Reds he would just mash.
No, I actually don't recall that. I have to look into those numbers. I want to see that now. Good old Ronnie Cedeno.
Let's pull up some Ronnie Cedeno splits and team splits. He if I remember correctly, he just mashed against the Reds for no reason.
So what's he doing these days?
He hasn't been in the majors since 2014. He played 7 games with the Phillies, it looks like.
Let's sign him, Jim. We could. I mean, I'm sure he could step in and be at least the 3rd best hitter on the Pirates right now.
I mean, he's 37. He's a little up there in age.
He sounds like he should be like 45 by now. Jeez.
37 years old. Yeah, let me pull up these splits. I feel like we're a lot of time talking about Ronnie Cedeno here, but
yeah, it's what the people want, Jim. They deserve
this.
It.
They need to know what Ronnie Cedeno did against the Reds. And hopefully the stats back me up because this is all just from an eye test thing.
By the way, as you're bringing that up, I just realized people that are watching this stream, these standings are not updated. I updated all the injuries, all the news, and I was supposed to do the standings this morning because games are still going on last night. I totally forgot.
All right, so Ronnie Cedeno against the Cincinnati Reds, most home runs hit versus any team, 7 home runs.
That's a lot for Ronnie Cedeno.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to read off these numbers, and they aren't going to sound great, but remember, we're talking about Ronnie Cedeno, right? So,
sure.
254 batting average, 293 on base percentage, 408 slugging percentage. So the slugging percentage was the best out of any team that he played more than 5 times, other than the Pittsburgh Pirates. He crushed Pittsburgh Pirates pitching. So, okay. But on any other team, let's just take an NL Central. 117 OPS plus against the Cincinnati Reds.
Okay.
Ronnie Cedeno.
I mean, that's good.
Ronnie Cedeno was a well above average hitter against the Reds.
And it's funny to talk about the Pirates, how he can. I mean, I felt like when he was with the
career
Cubs,
OPS plus of 71.
Oh. Yeah, that's bad.
Pirates OPS plus 152.
Oh, of course.
He had an 810 OPS versus the Pirates.
And that's a good amount of games too, I'm sure. It's not like he played like 4.
Yeah. 36 starts. Yeah.
Them Cubs days. I mean, he wasn't terrible, I felt like, with the Cubs. He was still bad, but coming up with the Cubs,
he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad.
Okay.
He's pretty bad his whole career.
Okay.
Yeah, he was bad.
All right.
Well, all right. Yeah. Let's move on
from Cedeno. We've lost all our listeners at this point. So, no, I'm with you about Erik Gonzalez. The other thing I want to bring up, this goes 2 ways. My third key is you have to limit the walks. I mean, the Pirates, it seems like that's been killing them this year. I mean, obviously, with just Del Pozo in general just killed them. But, giving up the free passes always seems to come back and haunt you. The Reds are 4th in their walk rate. They walk 11.6% of the time, which you can attribute a lot of that to Joey Votto, of course. But, they do walk a lot. Something the Pirates have issues with is, keeping the free guys off base. Again, especially our relievers. You got to limit it because also on top of that, they do walk a lot, but this team has power. You walk a guy, you get Moustakas come up, and boom, right there, it's 2 runs. And the Pirates seem to love giving up home runs this year, and they love walking guys. So you got to limit the free passes if you're going to have a chance in here, because this is a team that can be very dangerous. They have a 94 weighted run created plus. Actually, offensively, they haven't been as good as you would expect. But Jimmy, you and I both know it's there. This team can have a lot of power. They can do a lot of damage. So giving up those free passes, to me, is definitely a key because it's a lot easier to swallow a 1-run shot than a 2-run or a 3-run.
Yeah, no, you hit it there because, you're going to give up home runs this series. It's going to be a foregone conclusion. They're playing in Great American Ballpark, so you already are at that advantage when it comes to hitting. And like you said, there's a lot of hitters on this team that can be dangerous. it's a pretty deep lineup. You know, and there's a few guys that just haven't woken up yet either. So I mean, you look at Suarez
Right.
having a rough year, and you know what he's capable of doing. So he's there. Like I said, we mentioned Castellanos just having a career year. Votto, not playing great, but you know what he's capable of. Moustakas, is he? I don't think he's back yet, though. Is Moustakas back yet? I know he was hurt. So
that's a good question. I thought he
But-
was.
but
No,
that's another
As of yesterday,
dangerous
still
hitter.
yet to
Yeah.
face live pitching.
Okay.
So
So
we're good then.
So probably won't have to face Moustakas. But like Freddie Galvis all of a sudden has found his stroke in Cincinnati. So yeah, we'll see. But like you said, yeah, avoiding the walks will avoid the multi-run home runs.
Now, I just want to bring something up, though, Jim, too, because you are correct. But listen, yes, Freddie Galvis is having a nice year, but he's no young Freddie Galvis. We have the young Freddie Galvis, Jim, Erik Gonzalez. So I don't really want to hear what the true Freddie Galvis can do. All right, we got the young one. We're going to win this series. All hail Neil.
Here we go.
All right. I like those 3 keys. What is your
Yep.
prediction, though? 4 games. How many games did the Pirates win?
I think 4 games, the Pirates will take 1.
I'm with you. This team is just, unfortunately, really bad. And it's only getting worse because we're losing guys every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, what's good of this team, those ones. It's okay if you lose Del Pozo, but, we're losing Musgrove and Thrillup Evans and, the guys that have been carrying this team for a while. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think they'll probably maybe squeeze out 1 game here. It'll get crazy, and we'll get deep into both bullpens, and we'll probably win 11-10.
Probably see a lot of strikeouts, too. So 3 of the Reds starting pitchers have over a 35% K rate.
Yeah.
So
going back, I mean, Luis
we'll
Castillo, of course.
We'll see some swings and misses.
But man, Trevor Bauer, I gotta say, maybe he's finally put it all together because he's looked nasty this year.
He has looked really good.
All right, so we'll move on. I think there are a few players you want to talk about, though, Jim. You mentioned.
Yeah, so
let's dive into this.
So we talked about Erik Gonzalez, and if you follow me on Twitter, you also know just how much I love Fernando Tatis Jr., right? Fernando Tatis Jr.
I've never picked up on that.
Tatis Jr.
No one
looking
knows
like
that you love Tatis.
probably
Nobody knows I love Juan Soto. It's impossible.
Probably gonna win the MVP award this year. It is my guess. I mean, he's just been amazing. So much fun to watch. If you have MLB TV, turn on a Padres game from time to time because he is something. But no, we're gonna play a game. All right. So we're gonna go off of some StatCast statistics that I've looked up, and we're gonna say, is this Fernando Tatis Jr. or is this Erik Gonzalez?
This is where we're at. Think about this.
This is where we're at.
This game sounds
Erik
terrible.
Gonzalez. Erik Gonzalez. This is the type of year that Erik Gonzalez is having, like from a StatCast standpoint, is that we're going to play this game. And I think it's going to be interesting, DiNardo, see how you do. So, like I said, we all know how good Tatis Jr. is. Hopefully you do. If you don't, look it up because he's awesome. But Erik Gonzalez having an awesome year. So, all right, let's play this game.
All right.
So Erik Gonzalez or Fernando Tatis Jr.
And as you guys can see, I just shut my laptop just to make sure I haven't pulled up Erik Gonzalez stats. Jim warned me about this, so I made sure not to. So Go ahead, Jim. Hit me.
All right. Okay. Which player is in the 99th percentile of all of Major League Baseball in expected slugging percentage?
Oh, man. I mean, I know I just said I put it away, but I've been aware of what Erik Gonzalez is doing. But Tatis, like they're both either 98 or 99. That's what's crazy. So, I mean, I'm going to hand it, if it's 99, I'm going to go with Tatis Jr. I'll say it's Tatis Jr.
Okay. It's Erik Gonzalez.
Jesus.
Tatis is sitting at 97. Gonzalez is at 99.
Oh my
expected
God.
slugging percentage.
Oh
All
my
right.
God. Tatis Jr. has what, 9 home runs, 8 home runs on the season?
8 home runs.
He has 8 home runs, and Erik Gonzalez is expected to outslug this guy. Wow. Yeah. All right.
All right. Okay. Next category. We're going to go with hard hit percentage. This player, DiNardo, is in the 100th percentile in hard hit percentage.
It doesn't get any harder than this. And again, it's got to be Tatis Jr. He's killing it. He's MVP. But Erik Gonzalez, I mean, you know, I haven't been calling him exit Gonzalez for no reason. I'm going to go. Of course, I'll get it wrong here. I'm going to go with Erik Gonzalez on this one.
All right, this one's Tatis. So Tatis is in the 100th percentile, but Gonzalez 95.
Wow.
95. All right. Barrel percentage, DiNardo. Barrel percentage.
I got this. I have faith.
99th percentile.
This, my friend, is Erik Gonzalez. It's got to be.
It's Tatis. So Tatis is at 99. Gonzalez is this is actually Gonzalez's, maybe his worst category, 81st percentile. Erik Gonzalez.
So I'm an idiot. Why did I not think of that? Yeah, that's clearly Tatis.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right, we're gonna go with strikeout expected batting average. Expected batting average based on exit velocity. 98th percentile.
So oddly enough, this is one stat I kind of remember carrying over because I want to say now just one player though. I think Erik Gonzalez is like at a 368, maybe. Actually, maybe I don't even remember. But okay, so expected batting average. I'm going to go with Tatis Jr.
Erik Gonzalez.
Oh my God.
98th percentile in all of Major League Baseball. Tatis is at 83.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it show there what his expected do you see it? What his expected average is supposed to be?
Yep. So Tatis is at 280.
Oh.
Erik Gonzalez is at 366.
See what I tell you. Almost nailed it. I thought it was 368. Either way. Okay.
All right. One more. We'll do one more category here.
Well, I'm 0 for, so help me out, Jim.
How about expected WOBA? Expected weighted on base average.
Okay.
98th percentile.
So, I mean, Erik Gonzalez, I remember he took the average. He took the slugging. So I'm going to go with Erik Gonzalez on this.
All right. It's Erik Gonzalez. 98th percentile in all of baseball in expected WOBA. Tatis, 96.
Jeez. What monsters. Imagine having to just have, Tatis Jr. on the team and not Erik Gonzalez.
Right. Yeah.
I think the White Sox won the trade.
White Sox want to trade James Shields.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big game James.
No, but so I mean that just goes to show. I mean, like listen, Tatis is just mashing the ball, and everybody knows that. But like that's kind of why I want to see more of Erik Gonzalez is because it's not like he's not like flukily get like these hits that he's getting. They aren't like just landing in the right spot. Like he is actually, the data shows that he is a completely different hitter than what he used to. looking at the exit velocity, he's about 5 miles per hour harder this year than he was last year. DiNardo last year, so a barrel, and if you don't know what barrel is, there's a calculation. It has to have an exact exit velocity and launch angle, right, to calculate as a barrel. But last year he had 3 barrels all year.
Yes.
This year he has 4. He's already had more this year in 36 plate appearances than he had in all of last year.
Yep.
So he is hitting the ball harder than he ever has. He's striking out less than he ever has. He's the launch angle is there. Last year, launch angle 4.5 degrees. This year it's at 12. So he's hitting the ball harder. He's hitting the ball in the air. And because of that, you're seeing that slugging percentage. You're seeing, more power. And I want to see more of it, DiNardo. I know he's 28, so it's not like he's young or anything like that.
True.
But he seems like, just looking at the data, he's a different player now than he was last year. I know it's small sample size, but he looks different, and you can tell just by the few plate appearances that he's had.
Yeah, like this is why I want to get into him as well, because we all talk about small sample size, right? And truly this is small sample size. It is, and I totally understand that. But something that's always gotten me, okay, and I kind of talked about this a little bit on the podcast, is if something has actually physically changed. Like we talked about Kutch's stance and stuff and different things. When he was slumping and then he had a few good games back. Even like with Josh Bell. If you see a fundamental change in what they're doing, which is causing the success, you could equate to that. Like with Erik Gonzalez, it's not as if he's just batting 400 on the year now, right? And all you see is empty stat, batting average. But when you go deeper into it in the profile, you see, well, he's still hitting the ball weak. It's just, his BABIP is 500. He's clearly getting lucky. I wouldn't look at this and say, well, Erik Gonzalez batting 400, he's a good hitter. And as a matter of fact,
right.
Like when you look at the season, Erik Gonzalez is batting 333. I mean, for him, that's good. But it's not as if I look at a 330 hitter in 36 plate appearances and say, oh, this guy's a god, right? This is why there's some hype behind Erik Gonzalez now, and as mentioned before too, before the batting average was even there, he was opening eyes. When he was batting 100 on the season, you and I and still other people around there were like, what's going on with Erik Gonzalez? Something's different. And he was still looking like a terrible player when you look at the empty stats. But the exit velocity was there. And okay, so maybe it's just like 1 or 2 hits that were really hard, but he's still carrying it over. And now, the average has caught up to, what his, StatCast stuff has been showing, And you're right, Jim. Like, he truly looks like a different hitter. And this is why people are getting into StatCast now, because this shows these different profiles. Like you mentioned, a barrel. Analytically speaking, data shows if you hit it at this launch angle, with this velocity, right, you're getting a barrel, and it's an average, right? It's an expected batting average of 750. And that's true data. They've calculated all of that. That's happened in baseball. I think it's over a 2-year time frame, right? The past 2 years or such. And every time a ball has been hit in that way, the batting average is 750. I mean, those are just facts. That's why there's an expected batting average of that. When that ball is hit, right, on this pitch, 750, 75% of the time it's a hit. Well, that's what Erik Gonzalez is doing. That's what he's doing right now. He's proving in those measures that he's a good hitter. I'm baffled. Maybe something has just physically changed. Maybe he's worked on this offseason, and I'm absolutely with you. Even though he's 28 and he has 5 seasons worth of numbers to say he's a terrible player, and he's 36 plate appearances, I'm certainly intrigued, and I want to see as much as Erik Gonzalez this year as I can. And honestly, not so much. Let me get your take on this. Not so much that, hey, Erik Gonzalez is going to be part of our future, but maybe he ends up being our biggest trade chip. Who would have thought?
I mean, yeah, perhaps, but yeah, I mean, like you said, right now, I want to see more of him. I want to see if this is something that's sustainable.
Right.
Now, is Erik Gonzalez going to be in the 98th percentile of all of these categories? I'm not really expecting that, but he's like you mentioned, he just looks different, and it all has to do with hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball in the air, and he's pulling the ball. So he's pulling the ball hard in the air. DiNardo, what happens when you pull the ball hard in the air?
You get a lot of home runs, typically.
Yeah.
And he had a monster the other day.
It's nice. Oh, he crushed it. I mean, he hit it into a section of PNC Park that you rarely – he hit it into that second level in left field, basically in left center, the deepest left center in all of baseball.
Right.
He crushed it. And I think that's actually like that's the point where I was like, oh, like shit, like what was that? Like because there's not too many players who can do that.
And he wasn't one of them.
No,
and now apparently he is.
Yeah. So it just goes. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, there's this whole new thing in baseball where it's about developing and getting the most out of your swing, right? And there's these new philosophies, and reading up on it, you can change yourself as a Major League Baseball player. Like all these guys are good enough; they've gotten to this point where they're talented. If there could just be like one thing that they need to tweak to go from being a guy who's a AAA, middling utility infielder to being a star. And you always kind of look at Justin Turner as that, like he's like the main example, right?
I'll say
Justin Turner,
like Daniel Murphy.
Yep. So like you've got these guys where there are multiple people out there where for years and years they were just your bottom of the barrel utility infielders who were struggling to make rosters. And then they just changed one thing. And that one thing was pulling the ball hard in the air. That was it. Like that's the one thing. And if you can get that one thing down, it completely changes your career. So like you mentioned before, I said, I want to see more of him. And I just want to see if it's real. Like I said, at this point, you guys talked about it on the podcast on earlier this week. This is all about just seeing what we have, and let's see what we have in Erik Gonzalez. Let's see who he really is. Put him out there as often as you can, and get him as many plate appearances as possible.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you. And actually, I don't think there's any player that hits more than at home than Jose Batista. Like there's a great example of that too. He left with the Toronto. They almost cut him loose with Toronto as well. Then over that, off season, he worked. He had a fundamental change, and then out of nowhere, he's hitting 50 bombs. And I'm not here to say Erik Gonzalez is Jose Batista, but these are just examples of how a fundamental change, something you physically do that changes your profile, can lead to a different, player. And with him, it's not as if it's a bunch of the same stuff that he's doing, and now it's just getting lucky. He's hitting for 400, batting average. Like he's physically changed something, and he's mashing the ball. And you are correct on that as well. He's opened eyes, and right, like I'm not here to say too, like he is Jose Batista, and we now have an MVP player, but my eyes are open, and I want to see more because I want to see what he can do over still small sample in the grand scheme of things, but 60-game season. I want to see as much as him as I can to have a better feel of what this guy is. Is this sustainable? When we're 60 games into the season's over, is he going to have the same profile, at least somewhat close to it, and we can say, you know what, he can be a power hitter. Like he can be, hell, is he close to a 4-tool player at this rate? Like think about Erik Gonzalez in that sense. So right now, Ben Cherington's thinking, man, like look at this trade chip I could have on my shoulders right now. Gave with Jordan Luplow and got this guy, and now I'm going to get some team's top prospects. So a little facetious there, but anyways. Like that's why I'm really intrigued. This is almost like as if, in basketball, like the guy that came off the bench just scored 40 points. And you're like, where'd this come from? You know, I'm still leery. Like, he's been a bench player. I've evaluated as a bench player, but how did he score 40 points, against Duke? Maybe I need to give him a little more playtime and see what he can do. And that's what Erik Gonzalez is. Maybe we need to give him a little more playtime and see what this guy can be. Because maybe there's a diamond in the rough here. And that's what I'm all for this season, especially with all the injuries that taken place and everything. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for Erik Gonzalez to see time. So I'm for it.
Me too. That's going to be – he's my guy to watch for the rest of this year.
Yes, since we've lost Thrillup. Unfortunately.
Yep.
It would be nice if the other bats would wake up.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like Bell, Reynolds, Newman, Frazier, they just need to be better. And I think they eventually, could come around. You've started to see Reynolds a little bit come to life. I mean, he's at least raised his batting average like 100 points in the last week, probably. It's still only at 189, but that just goes to show you how bad it was before.
Right.
But Josh Bell has just been terrible. Like, there's really no other way to put it. He's been awful. Newman, same thing, has been bad. So, yeah, those guys need to start hitting, because right now it's just Moran and Gonzalez at this point. And
Moran actually has been slumping pretty bad lately.
Yeah, he's been cooling down a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. So, I don't know. Maybe this break will be good for them. Maybe they get themselves right. Get Josh Bell in the cage and find consistency in his swing and bring it out in Cincinnati. We'll find out. But, hey, Jim, I think this kind of wraps it up here. Do you have anything else you want to get off your chest?
I don't think I do. Yeah, watch some Padres games, guys. They're fun, at least.
Yes, and White Sox.
And White Sox, also fun.
And the Buffalo Blue Jays.
Buffalo.
Oh, God, Jim. Delete that tweet. All right. Still, with that said, we are out of here. We'll catch y'all tomorrow, NS9 Live. Bye-bye.
See ya.